Hello, my name is Jonathan Harris. Welcome to another Worldwide Camera Exchange video. Today we're going to look at Nikon manual focus lenses and the checks that you need to go through if buying them second-hand. They've been around for quite a few years now. The youngest lens you're likely to see is going to be certainly 10 years old. The oldest lens could be anything up to 40 or 50 years old. So you do need to know what to watch out for if you're buying second-hand. Now, what I have here is a Nikon 20mm lens. Focal length is really irrelevant. The checks you would go through would be common regardless whether it was a wide angle or a telephoto or a zoom. You should focus really in three areas. You should look at the cosmetics, you should look at the optics, and you should look at the mechanics. So what I'm going to do now is just run through those three areas for you, just to give you an idea of what you need to look out for. Okay, so first of all, the cosmetics. Take the caps off and just have a look over the lens. I mean, most of this is just really common sense stuff. Look at the filter rim, make sure there are no nasty dents there. Look at the bayonet mount, make sure there's no excessive wear there. A few little marks are likely. You want to avoid lenses that are heavily used or have really been abused. Just look at the paintwork. This one is fairly clean. It's not perfect by any means, but it's relatively clean. Look at the yellow and the white lettering. When they're brand new, they're very bright and very vibrant. And as time goes by, it fades and it becomes a little more tired. A tired looking lens, not necessarily an issue at all, but I would avoid a lens that looks tired and looks as though it has been abused. So something with lots of little dings and dents is probably best avoided. If you're happy with the cosmetics, then the next thing I'll do is move on and just have a look at the mechanics. They're fundamentally quite simple lenses. You've got the focusing ring, you've got the aperture ring and the aperture mechanism. Just gently move the focusing from side to side. It should move smoothly, it shouldn't be overly tight, it shouldn't be overly loose. Sometimes with the older 1980s, 1970s lenses, they will feel a little bit dry. That in itself isn't necessarily a problem, but it is a sign that servicing might be necessary. And if you do feel dryness, the servicing will certainly improve it. But I wouldn't worry too much. As long as it isn't overly tight or overly loose, you'll have a good lens. Have a look at the aperture mechanism. Again, do the same with that. Just move it gently backwards and forwards. Make sure it's not overly tight. Set it on 22. Have a look through it, and just with this lever here, which is the aperture actuating lever, just flick that backwards and forwards. You'll see the aperture mechanism opening and closing, and it should open up and close down very, very quickly and decisively. If it's sleepy, if it only closes very slowly, then again that's a sign that the lens does need servicing. And if you're going to come across one fault with a Nikon lens, it's going to be a slow aperture. That's not the end of the world at all, but if you're buying one, you really should factor in the cost of getting it serviced. So you've looked at the cosmetics, you've looked at the mechanics. Next, I'll move on to the optics. And this one you really do need to look at quite closely, because with the mechanical issues, servicing will sort those issues out. If you have optical faults, the cost can be massive, and often the cost of rectifying optical faults will exceed the value of the lens. So this one I would be very, very careful with. So open up to full aperture, hold the lens towards a bright source of light, and just do your best to look into the lens. You're making sure it's bright and clean inside. An alternative is to take a mobile phone torch and just shine that into the lens. They work really well because the LED lights are very, very bright. And just shine it into the lens from both sides and just make sure it's nice and clean and bright inside. If you see any spiderweb type growth across the inside of the lens, that's fungus. That's very common with the Nikon lenses, particularly if they've not been stored particularly well over a long period, and it's impossible to get it fixed. So if you see a spidery web type growth across the lens, across the inner surfaces of the lens, just walk away. Similarly, if you see little spots with spidery legs coming out of them, that's fungus in its early stages. So again, just walk away. The fungus actually etches into the coating, and even if you can get the fungus cleaned off the lens coating, you'll still have marks actually on the glass itself. Also, when looking inside, look out for any rainbowy type effects inside. Imagine looking at oil on water. If you can see that inside a lens, you can be fairly sure there's some form of coating fault inside. So again, I would just walk away. That just can't be rectified easily. Once you've satisfied yourself that there's nothing inside, just have a careful look at the front element and a careful look at the back element. Now, particularly with the front element, it's very, very common to get light scratches. That's not the end of the world, and it just won't affect performance, but it does affect the value. So if you do see little scratches, make sure the price you're paying reflects that. If you see scratches on the back, again, they shouldn't affect performance, but I'll be a little bit more cautious with scratches on the back, because the closer you get to the film, the closer you get to the image sensor, the more likely those things are to affect and to impact the optical quality. So I'll be more cautious with marks on the back element. I wouldn't worry too much about marks on the front element, but do make sure the cost is adjusted accordingly. Lots of people do like to test with a film, or of course stick it onto a digital camera, to try it that way. The only thing I'd caution is don't totally rely upon that. If you're going to stick it on a D5 or a D300 to check it, that's great. Or if you're going to run a film through a camera to check it, that's great too. But there are certain things that those tests won't pick up on. For example, if you do have spots of fungus inside or a balsam fault inside, the pictures may not be affected, so you won't spot those issues. So if you're going to test on a camera, brilliant, but go through the list that I've just highlighted as well. So stick on a camera. Really, the best thing to do is just try it on infinity. If it's focusing well on infinity, you can be fairly sure it's going to be perfect as you come closer away from infinity. You could also just maybe photograph a bookshelf or photograph a brick wall, and just look carefully at the four corners to make sure the sharpness is equal on all four corners. If you focus on infinity and it's fine, if you focus on the four corners and it's fine, then you've got a good lens. So you've checked the optics, you've checked the mechanics, you've checked the cosmetics, you've run a test film through. If you're happy with that, then I'd recommend buying the lens. It's going to be a good lens, it's going to serve you well. So I hope you found that useful. If you have any comments, please drop them in the box below. If you've enjoyed the video, please press the like button. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.